Welcome to Geek Fandom Media. I'm your host, Chris, and you guys, we are going to have a spoiler talk and a spoiler discussion about the Fantastic Four First Steps. Yes, you guys, this is a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Fantastic Four and you're here, please go check out Fantastic Four First Steps, then come back to the channel and we can have the discussion about the spoilers because I don't want to ruin any big reveals or nothing for you guys. This film was phenomenal from start to finish. Matt Shakman cooked on every single level. Boy, oh boy, what he did with WandaVision, I was really impressed. The craftsmanship of WandaVision, the realism of it all, the set buildings. He had that same influence on this film. He brought it over. And boy, he did not disappoint. He outdid himself, you guys. Matt Shakman, my brother, you have the best comic book film of 2025. Absolutely fantastic, no pun intended. Absolutely incredible. Not The Incredibles. Absolutely terrific, you guys. I'm telling you guys, this film really had a big impact on me. It really did. I loved the entirety of Marvel's first family and how they were introduced. I thought it was brilliant to do the 4 years. They already Fantastic Four, seeing them with the whole montage, fighting and helping. Absolutely awesome. Seeing them through New York City, the 60s retro-futuristic stuff was beautiful to see. It fit the setting and it was awesome. This is an Elseworld story. I hate to say it, but it is. And I need more Elseworld story because this felt so separate from the MCU. I loved it. Sometimes the interconnectedness can get a little bit old and, formulaic. And I'm not the biggest fan of that shit anymore. We've gone through how many projects, how many movies of the MCU. So the fact that this felt so drastically different, you guys, is what made me love it so much. Absolutely. I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. The Fantastic Four, everybody from Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, Joseph Quinn, they all shined. They all really did a wonderful job in these roles. They all established themselves as these heroes we are going to love from years on. Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn were the highlights of the Fantastic Four for me as Marvel's first family. They were both great. Vanessa Kirby in particular, absolutely astonishing work. The leader she was, the demanding presence that she had on this film was really, really impactful to me. Being, the spokesperson for the Fantastic Four and the Future Foundation and, absolutely loved it. She was the heart and soul of the film. Pedro Pascal, you guys did a wonderful job with the intellect side and the scientific side of, Reed Richards. Really, really brought this role to life, you guys. I can't speak highly enough of, Pedro Pascal. Ebon Moss-Bachrach as the Thing, absolutely incredible. Definitely, was the comic relief to some extent, but, I really wanted more. I loved seeing him go back to his hometown and walk and, interact with, the fans and the kids. Loved all that. Side small love interest that was kind of introduced, more so probably going to be, fully developed for the sequel, but I'm completely fine with that. And Joseph Quinn, absolutely astonishing work. Wasn't the womanizer that we know Johnny Storm to be, but he had so much to do in this film. I was highly impressed with how they handled Johnny Storm for the Fantastic Four First Steps. Absolutely incredible work from them, you guys. There's so much to discuss. There's honestly so much. I don't even know where to start. The story was so freaking awesome. Pretty basic Fantastic Four story, but well written, well developed. Just everything was spot on with the story. There were no dull moments for me. I was highly invested in every single frame. Galactus wants to destroy their universe. Shalla-Bal, obviously read the Fantastic Four comic book, Silver Surfer, working with Galactus, not by choice, so sacrificing, their one own to protect their own universe, and the Fantastic Four ultimately have to stop Galactus, but there's the big catch, what does Galactus want? He wants baby Franklin, you guys, because he understands the ability and the power set that this child has, and he understands just how powerful he can be, and he's like, I need this so I can stop doing what I'm doing. I've been doing this for, fucking centuries and shit. You know what I mean? He's exhausted. He's tired. He wants his replacement. So I love that whole element of it. And it gave so much more depth and so much more motivation to do the right thing and to really, become, this group of heroes who has to save their own universe. Really good stuff. Really, really fantastic work. The supporting characters like Herbie or, the Mole Man, I thought were wonderful stuff. But I really want to dive deep into, certain elements and certain sequences that I loved and adored so much. Like, the whole first appearance of Galactus was absolutely incredibly well done, and where that leads to of, them trying to escape to get back to their universe, and then having Shalla-Bal. You guys, the visual effects were absolutely stunning in this movie from start to finish. It was really good. Shalla-Bal's visual effects were amazing. The whole black hole sequence was absolutely stunning. And that whole sequence alone, seeing, Sue pregnant and giving birth because of all the stress and the anxiety, it was insane. And whatever Galactus did to her, it was insane. He was like, give me your baby right now. She was like, hold on, I'm only 3 months. Like, it was crazy. That sequence was beautifully, beautifully well done. Really good. And to see them come back with this confliction and, wanting to be honest with the world, because the Future Foundation is ultimately, it's to serve humanity. And Reed being so honest, I was surprised by that. Be like, hey, Galactus says, he wants our baby. And I said, no. What? You're not going to give up your child to save our lives, the entire world? But that's just who Reed is. But Reed had so many great moments of the intellect side and so many great moments of him tinkering and thinking and trying to figure things out, because that's what Reed Richards does. He even considered giving up his son. And there was that whole powerful moment between Reed and Sue that I love so much. She was pissed at him. And I was like, oh. And she's like, I know you have. This is what you do. This is who you are. You write numbers. You have these equations. You figure anything out if it costs anything. That's who Reed is. You know what I mean? He is so determined. So that whole sequence was absolutely really cool. And seeing the whole world come together to serve, a greater purpose was quite fascinating. Everybody except Latveria, right? Very interesting. The whole, Future Foundation and, seeing all the world nations there, everybody but Latveria. The chair was empty. I was like, oh, is that Dr. Doom? Could that be Doom? Love that. That was awesome. Nice little small Easter egg I really adored. But, it was awesome seeing Johnny too. Johnny really has something to do in this film and decipher those codes or decipher the language of Shalla-Bal and, her space, her religion or whatever, her, I was going to say ethnicity. Her ethnicity. What do you mean ethnicity? Her species. There you go. Her species. I really like that, man. It gave Johnny, a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a womanizer. He was absolutely capable of doing so much more in this film. And I want to see more of that from Johnny moving forward. Because, like I said, very different iteration of Johnny, but I am completely fine with that. And I'm pretty sure once Johnny comes to this particular timeline in the MCU, it ain't gonna be women, the women dressed in the 60s outfits. They're gonna be in some lime thongs, and you see, Johnny's gonna change. Johnny Storm is gonna change once he comes to this main universe and he sees, all these beautiful women. I'm telling you guys, it's gonna be wild. He's gonna be let loose, so to say. But really good stuff, and seeing the whole third act come to life and Galactus reach Earth and was terrifying. And I love that Mole Man was helping out. I love that he had a relationship with Reed and they disliked each other. I love those whole little moments. It was freaking awesome to see. But to see him, take everybody and evacuate everybody and put them underground, I thought was brilliant to get everybody out of the city, because ultimately Galactus is 1,000 feet tall, stories upon stories, and he could just, absolutely just destroy all kinds of building. And the civilian casualty, you guys, would have been crazier than Man of Steel. It would have been absolutely insane. But I like that whole thing. And then, Galactus finally showing up, and you see the Fantastic Four versus Galactus was freaking awesome to see. They were getting their asses whipped. It was just like, how do you defeat this guy? You can't. The one scene, dude, where he, kind of like flinged away, Ben, and he's just flying. I was like, oh, shit. He was like, ah! And Johnny's like, oh, my God, let me go get him. And that whole scene, where he's like on the back of him and he's pushing him down. Say it, Ben. No, Johnny, say it. It's clobbering time. I was like, let's go, dude. Awesome moment. Or, what was really awesome, seeing I like the whole master plan. You know, the whole master plan was to kind of teleport Galactus away from the universe so he doesn't have a ship, because with his ship, he can destroy and eat their universe. But that whole master plan of having, you know, the baby be like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Divergent? Not divergent. Whatever word I'm looking for. You know, I thought that was brilliant. But Galactus being Galactus, was like, there ain't no baby over there. I ain't stepping to y'all little contraction. Oh, there he is. He said, you know, you guys is building. I thought that was awesome. And to see, you know, Mr. Fantastic fight Galactus was awesome. This fool pulled him like a rubber band. Like, he was smiling. Ralph Ineson, you guys, as Galactus was incredibly well done. I'm telling you. He had such personality when he arrived to Earth. Looking at, you know, the Statue of Liberty and the smirk. And, like, I was just like, oh, yeah. Just literally just pulling Reed. He's like, oh. Reed's like, ah. I was like, yes. This is the most comic book shit ever. And I am there for it. Absolutely there for it. But, you know, the big hero at the end of the day, man, was Sue Storm. Sue Storm, man, she really went next level to contract and, you know, hold Galactus together to put him in that particular, you know, area that they built to, you know, put him in a black hole. That was awesome to see how powerful she can be, to put her life on the line. The sacrifice, you guys, was awesome. Awesome. Oh my God, I got emotional. I got emotional because I knew what was going to happen. I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to die. I'm not ready for it because, like I said, she was a fan favorite for me from the very beginning. From the very beginning, when she told Reed that she was pregnant in the bathroom, absolutely fan favorite. And then when she did it, you guys, and then seeing Johnny ultimately want to make that sacrifice to save his nephew, and then Shalla-Bal hitting him away, and then smacking Galactus in the chest, and then them both falling through, you know, the black hole, I was like, oh, shit. She just sacrificed herself. And I loved it. Like I said, Johnny played a pivotal role in this. He got to Shalla-Bal. He got to understanding her, and he broke her. He was like, whatever you're doing is wrong. You can stop this. You can help us. How many worlds have you helped destroy? How many lives, how many people, how many loved ones have you helped destroy because of Galactus? Love that whole sacrificing moment. And then, you guys, I would like to say that baby Franklin was the most adorable baby in the world. He was so cute. I love the whole dynamic between Johnny and, you know, I'm flip-flopping everywhere, but, you know, before we get into the big thing, I love the whole dynamic between Johnny, Ben taking care of the baby, you know, or even just seeing, you know, Sue and Reed, you know, kind of struggle having a baby and seeing them so tired. I'm like, oh yeah, as a father, I know, and it's definitely relatable. It shit happens. You get no sleep at all when you have, you know, a newborn baby. So when, you know, when Reed ends up, you know, running over and to save, you know, baby Franklin, and he discovers that Sue is dead. Oh my God, he was trying to revive her. Nothing, dude. And you just see the emotion. The emotion that was pouring out of Pedro Pascal's face and body was so damn good. So incredible. Ben, you know, Johnny, it was such a heartfelt moment. Such an incredibly heartfelt moment. And to see, you know, the baby yearning and wanting the mom, wanting her, you know, his mom. That was so beautiful. You know, because a baby and a mother's attachment is so beautiful and so powerful. I don't think you guys understand that shit. Like, as a father, I've seen it. You know what I mean? And to see what Franklin was able to do is bring her back to life was, whoo, this baby's powerful. Franklin Richards is powerful. And there are going to be other people who are going to be looking for him. Hence the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene, you guys, was crazy. The post-credit scene, we see Sue Storm, right? I think it's like 3 or 4 years later, so Franklin's about 5 years old. She's leaving. She went to go get something, and then all of a sudden, it's just a little bit, tad bit dark in here. And she notices something, you know, and she's like, well, and then the close-up of Franklin touching Dr. Doom's face with Doom holding his mask. I was like, oh my God. And been confirmed that, you know, the Russo brothers did film this post-credit scene, just like how they filmed the post-credit scene for the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I was like, Doom is finally here, you guys. And it was so perfect. But I was like, I had questions. I was like, are you from this universe? Are you from another universe? Because during the whole, you know, scene, and, you know, with the Future Foundation, the Latveria chair was always empty. And, you know, I don't see why or how Doom would be so quiet about his particular universe ultimately almost being destroyed. Or maybe he was just waiting when he found out that Galactus wanted the baby. And he was like, I'll wait to see how this plays out, but I got a contingency plan just in case something does happen so I can get my ass up out of here. And he found out just how powerful he is. He's like, okay, I need to take, you know, I need to take a little visit to them. But then how does the post-credit scene for Thunderbolts tie in? It was their, you know, their spaceship going into their universe. I'm so confused. I'm like, what's happening here? Is this Doom from their timeline? Is this Doom from a different timeline? I am so curious. But boy, that shit did not disappoint. And like I said, I am so fascinated to see how this is ultimately going to connect into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Because I need to see a full body reveal of Downey as Dr. Doom as soon as possible. I needed you guys because it was so damn incredible. And of course, I love the ending scene of putting the car seat in the car. Reed, Ben, and Johnny all struggling. I'm like, if you're a father, you know, you understand how incredibly hard it is to deal with your child's contraptions. What is it called? They're all their gadgets and shit. It can get extremely confusing. That's why he had Herbie building the crib. Dang, you guys, this film was, like I said, incredibly well made, incredibly well crafted, incredibly well handled. The delicacy, the influence on Jack Kirby and Stan Lee from their earlier comic book runs was the influence, and it was felt all throughout, you know. Just imagine if the Eternals really embraced that shit and didn't run from it. I have a feeling that it would have been in the same ballpark, honestly. Honestly, that's how I truly do feel. But like I said, I love Fantastic Four First Steps. The first family was incredibly wonderful together. You know, so many highlights and standout moments, so many great sequences. You know, it left me wanting more. It did. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about the Fantastic Four First Steps, thoughts and opinions. What did you think about the post-credit scene, you guys? Let me hear your theories down below. And of course, thank you guys for taking time out of your day for watching Geek Fandom Media. Peace.